Dear learners, good evening. Today we are going to see one of the important topic in social psychology. In my presentation, I am going to cover some of the topics here. Introduction to social psychology, origin of the term, definition, character and scope of social psychology as an applied science, growth of social psychology as a scientific discipline, social psychology in India, application of social psychology. This is a syllabus for the course on social psychology, which I am handling for a master degree student, in which I am going to give important components of social psychology today. First, we will understand the concept of social psychology. As we all know that social psychology is an applied psychology in which psychological principles, theories, and important components applied in the society is called social psychology. So it will help us to improve that interactions in the society, attitude exhibition in the society, group formations, leadership development. These are some of the topics we will study, and then why we are biased in particular things, prejudiced, discriminations, why some people are doing particular things, and the behavior of people, the personality of people in different settings. When they are alone, the personality is totally different. When they are in a group, how it is different from others. These things will be studied in social psychology. Social psychology is one of the applied psychology. Here we can see the idea about social psychology. And in further, the subfields of social psychology we can classify into two components. One is the application of psychology in social psychology, application of sociology in social psychology. There are two ways we can look into that. For example, the application of psychology and social psychology emphasizes upon subjects' mental process, disposition, experiences, and immediate social situation. These are the components will be discussed in psychology and social psychology. But in sociology and social psychology discusses emphasis upon subjects' location, social order, their socialized roles, and historical and social context. So we can see that it is an application of principles and important concepts in another field. We are applying in the field, and the new field is called social psychology. And in social psychology, what are the important topic we will discuss? It is a mixture of different applied psychology. For example, in social psychology, we will study cognitive psychology, individual psychology, social anthropology, some little bit of sociology, social linguistic, language and communications. These are the important topics that covered in social psychology. And now we are going to look into the definition of social psychology. When you refer different definitions, one of the definitions given by Alport, according to him, social psychology studies thoughts, feelings, behavior of an individual in a social setting. So when we study about a person's, how the person is thinking, how he feel, how he behave in a social setting. So when you study about these things, that things comes under social psychology. Here we are going to look into the history of social psychology. When we go back to 770 and 1831, Hegel introduced the concept that society has an effect on the development of the social mind. Social mind, individual mind is totally different. We think about ourselves only, but when you are in a society, the social mind is totally different from the individual mind. It was insisted by Hegel. George William Friedrich Hegel was a German philosopher and an important figure of German idealist. There are different schools of philosophies are there. He belongs to the one of the philosophy school is an idealism. Other schools are naturalism, pragmatism, existentialism. These are the other schools. He belongs to the school called idealism. He achieved a recognition in his day, and while primarily influential in the continental tradition of philosophy, has become increasingly influenced in analytical tradition as well. And he was born in August 27, 770 at Germany, and he was died 14th November 1831 at Germany. So he is a pioneer in the field of social psychology, And next, one of the important person we call him as a father of experimental psychology, Wilhelm Wundt. He establishes the first laboratory in Leipzig University, which is in Germany. His component focuses on society's influence on the individual, especially in regard to a language. How the society influence or make impact on one's language development. This is the interest of Wilhelm Wundt in his study. Wilhelm and Maximilian Wundt was physician, physiologist, philosopher, and professor known today as one of the founder of modern psychology. Wundt, who distinguished psychology as a science from philosophy and biology, was the first person ever to call himself as a psychologist. There are many people are there. They are called as philosophers, biologists, physician, but he is the first person. He belongs to a different field. He claimed himself as a psychologist. He was born 16th August 1832 at Germany, and he was died August 31st, 1920 at Germany. And third important person is Herbert Mead. His period is between 1863 and 1941. An American philosopher and founder of social psychology. He is the founder of social psychology. He believed that social interaction plays an important role in the development of the self. When you want to develop yourself, you have to interact. If you don't interact with others, you will not. He doesn't know how to develop yourself. That is a point he stressed in his theory. George Herbert Mead was an American philosopher. He is a sociologist and psychologist, primarily affiliated with the University of Chicago, where he was one of the served distinguished pragmatists. He was born in February 27, 1863 at the United States and died on 26 April 1931, Chicago, Illinois, United States. And fourth prominent person in social psychology is Floyd Alford, 1892-1971. He is a pioneer of social psychology. Floyd Henry Alford was an American psychologist who is often considered the father of experimental social psychology. We know that the person who called father of experimental psychology is Wilhelm Wundt, and likewise another person who called father of experimental social psychology is Floyd Alford, has played a key role in the creation of social psychology as a legitimate field of behavioral science. His book of social psychology impacted all futures writing in the field. The source is taken from the Wikipedia. He was born August 22nd, 1890 at the United States, and he was died on 15th October 1979 at the United States. And the fifth person, Kurt Lewin, 1892-1947. He was considered to be the founder of social psychology. Really, we have seen that Alport, he is called father of experimental social psychology, but he was Kurt Lewin is called founder of social psychology, and we will see why he was considered father of social psychology. He is from the Germany, studied group dynamics. Group dynamics is one of the important topics in social psychology. Kurt Lewin was a German-American psychologist known as one of the modern pioneers of social organizational and applied psychology in the United States. He was born in September 9th, 1890 at Poland, died on February 12th, 1947 at the United States. And another prominent person in social psychologist is MUZAFER. His period is between 1906 to 1988. He developed a social judgment theory. MUZAFER was a Turkish social psychologist. He helped develop social judgment theory and realistic conflict theory. SHERIF was a founder of modern social psychology who developed several unique and powerful techniques for understanding social process, particularly social norms and social conflicts. He was born on July 29th, 1906 at Turkey, died 16 October 1988 at United States. He is known for social psychology, that is group conformity theory, Rupert-Gave experiment. And another important person in social psychology is HENRI TAJFEL, 1919-1982 is a period. Social identity theory from Poland and England. He is important. He is influenced on those area. Henry TAJFEL was a Polish social psychologist, best known for his pioneering work on the cognitive aspects of prejudice and social identity theory, as well as being one of the founder of European Association of Experimental Social Psychology. He was born on June 22nd, 1919 at Poland, and he was died on May 3rd, 1982 at UK. And Leon Festinger is also the same period like what we have seen the earlier, 1919 to 1989. He proposed a theory called cognitive dissonance theory. It is one of the important theories. Still nowadays we are using it in social, not only in social psychology, in other applied psychology field also. Leon Festinger was an American social psychologist, perhaps best known for cognitive dissonance and social comparison theory. He was born on May 8th, 1919 at New York, United States, died on 11th February 1989, New York at United States. And he is known for not only for cognitive dissonance, he is known for effort justification, social comparison theory also. And that living person, Albert Bandura, 1925 to present, he is a behaviorist who proposed social learning theory. Albert Bandura is a Canadian American psychologist who is a David Starr Jordan Professor Emeritus of Social Science in Psychology at Stanford University. He was born on 4th December 1925 at Canada. He is known for social cognitive theory, self-efficacy, social learning theory, Bobo-Doll experiment, agency, reciprocal determinism, and so on. And another person, ELLIOT Aronson, 1932 to present, he is an inventor of the zigzag classroom. ELLIOT Aronson is an American psychologist who was carried out experiments on the theory of cognitive dissonance and invented the zigzag classroom, a cooperative teaching technique which facilitates learning while reducing inter-ethnic hostility and prejudice. He was born on January 9th, 1932 at United States. And now we are going to see that a prominent person, earlier we have seen the prominent person in social psychology. Now we are going to look into that, the important event in happened in history of social psychology. 1895, Norman Triplett conducted the first social psychological study. He was born on October 1st, 1861, United States, and died on 1931 at United States. In 1898, he wrote what is now recognized as the first published study in the field of sports psychology. There is a field applied for psychology is called sports psychology. His input still we are using it. 1900, Gestalt school of psychology influenced a lot in social psychology. It is a German social psychology. Gestalt theory is that social environment is the relation between individuals. Social environment is nothing but how the individual in the society they are related to one another. And there are many, we have principles are there, proximity, continuity, closure, fast experience, and symmetry. There are many things are there that will be studied under Gestalt School of Psychology. And these experiments helped in development of the social psychology. 1913, behaviorist ruled in the field of psychology. Behaviorism became popular in America. Influences on American social psychology too. So that means there, for example, what we have seen that Bandura's Bobo-Doll experiment helps in understanding the behavior and learning in social context. In 1924, Alport wrote first social psychology textbook based on the systematic and controlled research. Based on his research, he wrote a book on social psychology. And 1931, Murphy produced a book on social psychology, summarized the findings of 1,000 studies in social psychology. What they have done, it's like a meta-analysis. They collected different sources of studies conducted on social psychology and compiled, and then they wrote a book in 1931. And 1939 to 1945, we all know that the Second World War experiences helps in development of social psychology also. People become interested in the behavior of individual within a group and in a social situation. Suppose a person in a particular group, how he behave, how he interact with others. The same person goes to a different culture, how he behave and interact. This is the interest of the most of the researcher during that time. Also brings together German and American social psychology. There is a huge gap between the researches conducted in Western countries. That German studies were not shared with any other countries, and American studies were collaborated with Germany, and new more meta-analysis there happened during that period. And 1951, Solomon Ark, he is one of the social psychologists. He conducted conformity experiment. Conformity experiment means in a room there are 10 or more than 10 people will be there. One person will be outsiders, and then remaining persons are known to the experiment. These 9 people will say the wrong answer to the question. Here you can see the target line and which line is equal to that particular line, A, B, C. As per my understanding, C is the right one. Suppose all the 9 people say the answer is B, then he also, the 10th person also will say that answer is B. There is a high influence on the group members answers, that influence on the decision will be taken by the person who doesn't know about these things. So this is an experiment done by him, conformity experiment. And another classical experiment by Milgram, obedience experiment. Stanley Milgram has conducted experiment in which the shock was given to the person, minimum to maximum. The person who is taking the test, he said that I had a shock, even he was not getting shock at all. So subject has an influence on this experiment. This experiment classically how the person's interaction that the conform to the particular experiment when they convey to the experimenter, how it influences on the mind of the person. So it is one of the classical experiment. And in 1937, Philip Zimbardo, he conducted in Stanford, when he was a professor of Stanford, he conducted Friction experiment on social roles. When a person play a different role in the society, how they will behave when they are in a particular place, how they play a role. So this is an experiment. Based on this experiment, there are many stories, many Hollywood movies also made. In 1986, Weiner introduces attribution theory in the field of social psychology. And so we know that in attributions, it may be internal or maybe external. If it is an internal attribution, that is called dispositional attribution. If it is an external, that is called situational attribution. So attribution theory is one of the classical important theory in social psychology. When we enter into social psychology, that most people will like to study about these things, and then they will feel that they are do something better. And here are some of the reference I have taken. I hope these inputs will help you to understand what is social psychology. Social psychology is nothing but applied psychology. That means application of psychology in the field of society, and application of sociology in the field of society. So it is a combination of both, and it is for the betterment. It is an combined one. And when we look into that transformation of social psychology happened from the early field, from philosophy to the present. Now it is distinguished as an individual field. Even psychology, it is on social psychology, is a very broader area. There are many people doing research on that area. And this video will give an inputs about the historical development and events in the social psychology. Thank you for watching the video. We will see you in the next video. Thank you.